Well, I thought we were heading west up in the clouds of the Atlantic to New York, but SatNav says we are sea level. We're heading across the English Channel to France, to Paris to be exact, to meet our next fusion artist, who, if I said, was a Grammy award-winning trumpet player, saxophone player, record producer, I'd only be touching the surface. Welcome, Josiah Woodson.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So, Josiah, we are in Paris, not New York.
Yeah, that's right. Paris post-quarantine during the COVID times. It's pretty interesting these days.
It certainly is. Let's just come straight in and talk about some of the projects. The Grammy Awards you've won, for example, working with Beyoncé.
That's right. Me and my friends got the opportunity, the call, to go work with Beyoncé around 10 years ago for her album 4, and we did a bunch of tracks with her. We did about 15 tracks in total, the horn section, and most of the things were kind of towards their final form by the time we got there, so we were able to add and arrange and harmonize with those things, and 7 of them were picked to be on her album 4, 2 of which were nominated for Grammys, and 1 of which won.
Let's just get back to Paris. What's the jazz scene there like?
In my circles that I run with, I play with the Guadeloupean and Martinique musicians. So there's a lot of sort of Guoka influence and influence from the Caribbean in the jazz there. But then, there are scenes that are more like the New York scene that I kind of run through a bit. There's all kinds of stuff in the scene here.
Jazz, of course, is popular all over the world, and Paris as well.
The French people really appreciate live music. And so that's good no matter what type of music you're playing, from classical to soul to funk to straight ahead bop. The people are in the audience and they're really loving it.
There are some really good examples of your skills as a trumpet player on YouTube, especially the JWP live sessions recorded in Paris.
JWP is the Josiah Woodson project, so that's just a band that I came up with to do more of that stuff that's along the Glasper lines, with a singer, whereas my quintessential is more sort of modern jazz, postmodern, post-bop or something like that. This is more, we'll do some covers of some Glasper tunes, maybe some covers of some other neo-soul or pop influence. We even did a cover of a country style song that we completely transformed into something else. I don't really know what to call it, but that's really just an outlet for me to kind of go in different directions. It's the band now that I play bass in.
You seem to be so comfortable at home playing a variety of instruments, including the flute, the flugelhorn, guitar and bass we'll talk about in a minute. But you just mentioned about the Quintessential project. What's that about?
The influences that I have in sort of postmodern jazz, which is Kurt Rosenwinkel is a big influence of mine, the guitar player. The saxophone player Kenny Garrett, especially his work with Miles back in the late 80s, but also his stuff with Kenny Kirkland and Nat Reeves and those guys with his albums in the late 90s and early 2000s. That's big influences on me. And also Nicholas Payton, the trumpet player from New Orleans, from the same era. Those are my biggest influences, and this project Quintessential is sort of my opportunity to explore how those different sounds and vibes hit me and what comes out of that and what I get excited about.
Fantastic. You've just answered several questions I had in my head, so I've got to start thinking. You played jazz in all its different forms all over the world. Are there areas where it's accepted more than others?
You'll have different parts of this so-called jazz that sticks more. It all sticks in New York because that's one of the meccas. But perhaps in Paris, they like a little bit more of the bebop in certain scenes, or they like a little bit more of the Glasper stuff and the neo-soul and the sort of more funky shake your booty stuff in some other clubs. And so what happens in Paris, I find, is that certain clubs attract certain scenes and people sort of gravitate to these clubs, which sort of tailors what types of music gets played there. For instance, everything gets played at Duc de Lombard, but like Baiser Salé would have some bebop, but they would also have lots of Caribbean influences there, whereas the 38 Rive has more straight ahead stuff. And then there are some jam sessions as well, which kind of flow in a similar vein, where there'll be the scene here will be more leaning towards one end of the jazz spectrum than another. I hope that answers your question.
Well, the trumpet's been part of your life from a very early age. I think it was only 12 when you started. And like the trombone, there's a lot of stamina involved in playing that. How did you get on as a youngster?
I started playing trumpet at 12, but it was really light. Trumpet is a very, very difficult instrument, especially the smaller you are, and I was pretty small at the time. But I didn't really get bitten by the music bug and the jazz bug until I met Khalil Shaheed at Jazz Camp West, which is out in California, out in the Redwoods, when I was 14. So that's when I started really getting serious and actually going home and practicing. And the instrument, I mean, you really just have to treat it like you're going to the gym. It's a workout every day. You're working these tiny little muscles, and if you miss days, you're going to feel it, and everyone's going to hear it. Trumpet is one of those instruments that you can't hide behind. If you're wrong, you're going to be wrong strong. And so it just requires a hard-headedness. You just have to be in it and have a good discipline on the instrument.
And of course, you're still quite a youngster when you went on and got bachelors of this, masters of that, degrees of that. It goes on and on. You must have been studying forever.
6.5 years. It felt like forever, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, I went to Oberlin for my undergrad. That took me about 4 and an extra semester. And then I did my master's program in 2 years, which is at New England Conservatory, which is right up the street from Berkeley, ending in 2006, before moving on to the University of the Street of New York and trying to make it there.
Young blood, spring chickens. Young blood, spring chickens.
But very rewarding, of course. And then along came the flute and the flugelhorn.
Flugelhorn is actually very simple because it's just trumpet. Like, slightly different, it's got different tendencies, but it's just a slight adaptation. It's almost like somebody playing tenor sax and alto. It's just a slight, like all the fingerings are the same, but flute, that was a crazy addition. I remember I picked it up in grad school. And it was just because my father kind of dabbled in flute. He's not a professional musician, but he really liked it. And, I was like, let me pick up something to take my mind off of trumpet, because it was really intense at the time. And it's like, here's something fun to do that's not far from the role I embody when I'm on the trumpet. And so I started playing, and it was fun. And then I think somebody challenged me. I think one of my dad's teachers said I couldn't do something. I think she said I couldn't circular breathe on the flute. And when anybody tells me I can't do something, that kind of pushes me to try and do it.
And were guitar and bass guitar next?
Well, guitar I picked up right after flute. And guitar was a special thing for me because that was the first instrument beside trumpet that I actually got serious on. So I was living in Boston, and Berkeley's right there. There's a million guitar players, so of course I had friends that were guitar players, and I went over to one of their houses one day, and they had their guitar set up. So they were like, play, and I was like, okay. And I picked it up, played a few notes, and got bit by the guitar bug. I think the next day I was at the shop buying a used guitar, and like I say, I found a piece of myself in this instrument, and I just chased it. I just went after it. I remember that summer, some of those days I was practicing for 17 hours a day. I remember one day I just didn't get up, and I didn't really recognize that I hadn't eaten or moved my butt. I was just on the instrument, so excited about it. So that's my journey on guitar. Bass is kind of a recent addition, and it's a fun one. Man, bass is fun, and nobody prepared for me for how just fun this instrument is. I was going on tour about 4 years ago in a trio setting where I was supposed to be playing guitar and trumpet. Kind of a little more guitar, but almost equal on those two fronts. And the band leader was like, hey, I want you to play 2 or 3 songs a night on bass. Is that something that you'd like to do? He had mentioned this months before, and I was like, yeah, this would be fun. So I flew out to California where the first stop was. I bought the bass from Guitar Center that day, and that night I was playing a few songs on it at the first gig.
I get so weak in the knees, I can hardly speak.
And I wasn't stellar, but I had some technique in the left hand because of guitar. So I have a 6-string bass, and I actually tune it just like a guitar. So everything stays in the same setup. I don't have to switch my mind between guitar and bass in terms of the mapping of the fretboard. Now this hand had to take a while to kind of get up to speed with muting and all those things. 6 strings is a lot, and they're super live. But I just remember being on tour, and at every gas station, every time we'd stop at a hotel or what, we were on tour for like 2 months, 2.5 months, something around there. I was just practicing like a madman, just all the time, because it was just so much fun. And the thing people didn't prepare me for was when you're on stage and playing bass, especially if it's groovy and you're getting people moving, there's a power in you're moving and you're communicating to other people and they start grooving with you. It's magic. I love it.
In the JWP live sessions filmed in Paris, you're also playing bass and you're pumping out some real funky, weighty grooves. What bass guitar are you playing?
Yeah, that's that's just an Ibanez, I think 206B, something like that. It was the cheapest 6-string that I could find, but I've since put a lot of work into it. I bought a soldering gun, and I figured out how to add some Aguilar pickups and an Aguilar preamp, which was a ton of connections, but hard-headed, I figured that out, and then I sanded it down, and Ed was able to etch some stuff in the fretboard. So it's a really sort of super duper customized bass that I love more and more every time I look at it.
Grammy. People. Worry.
So I have 2 trumpets. One of them is a Colicchio, and that's from Hollywood. That is the same style trumpet that Freddie Hubbard used to play. But I don't really play that one too much anymore. It's more of a lead-focused instrument. It's really clear, really bright, and it's kind of thin on the lead pipe. But the other trumpet that I play, I picked up in New York, about 6 years ago, maybe something around there. And that's just a Cannonball. It's a Cannonball Stone series. And the reason why I like it is because it's big, it's round, it's open, and it lets me get this wide, round, warm velvet, breathy tone more. I realized that for years and years I'd been fighting the Colicchio to get my natural tone, the natural tone that I was leaning towards, and the Cannonball just allows me to do that. And it looks vintage, it looks old because that one doesn't have lacquer on it, which I believe helps the sound become nice and warm and matte and round. But it's actually it was built in 2012.
Another gun aimed at us. Bet you better never be me. No. Trust, 'cause I'm sure that I'm about to be free.
I had a good friend, a drummer, say to me one time, his name is Casa Overall, which he's a phenomenal musician, DJ, singer, rapper, drummer, phenomenal all around. And he was like, yo, the trumpet is a percussion instrument. And he's exactly right. It really is a tonal percussion instrument, because if you can tap into it and you can get to the point where it's a real extension of you can tap into some really powerful rhythmic gestures and stabs and things that just get people moving, whether you're in sort of a soul context and you're kind of doing these round things like Marquise Hill, or you're like in a section behind some James Brown stuff and you're kind of adding the knife's edge to some of those gestures and stuff in the horn section. So trumpet is just that thing that you hear first. If the trumpets are playing, you're listening.
You've travelled a lot, extensively around the world, and the likes of trumpets, brass instruments are vulnerable, like the valves and the mouthpieces. We do have a picture of you on an aeroplane with a fusion bag.
I always take it. Matter of fact, I just got off the plane this morning from New York, and I had my it's down there, my Fusion trumpet case. That's right. And if it's right up there in the overhead, and it's perfect. And I actually put my computer in it as well. It's perfect.
So we were heading to New York. I was given the wrong information, but never mind. What's next for you, Josiah?
Okay, so there's three things that are sort of on the horizon in my mind. The first one is last year in October, I was able to fly out to the Bay Area and perform with the Oakland Symphony. And I got to perform two of my pieces that I actually spent a couple months adapting for the symphony. So to hear two of my songs realized by a symphony was really powerful to me. So in the back of my mind, I'm trying to figure out how I can re-perform those songs and perform some more, because that, like I said, that was a very powerful experience. 21 minutes of music of just some great stuff, and that was actually with the Taylor XD on piano, which was a real treat to have him realize my song. So I'm trying to figure out how can I do more stuff with the symphony. The second thing is I've been doing lots of video work. So I've had recording sessions by myself where I do multi-instrumental things. Sometimes I bring in some partners or some friends, whether it's gospel or more some funk and R&B, and I'm playing some keyboards and some other things. And that's really fun to me as well, because it's another type of expression, not only arranging a song, but arranging it for the format of video. And I have all but finished all of the songs. I think there's one song I have to finish writing for this second album. I'm really ready to record my sophomore album, so I'm getting things, lining up my ducks and getting them in a row to record this second album. So those are the three things that I'm excited about that are on the horizon for me.
Josiah, thank you so much for taking part in the Fusion Virtual World Tour.
Absolutely, it was my pleasure.